Today is the last day in the month of April 2024. And so far this month, we have seen the rise and the fall in the value of Naira. In fact, the company ranked Naira as the best performing currency in the month of April. But what we noticed was that from April 22nd, the value of Naira compared to dollar started to deepen and only peaked yesterday as the bureau change rate was at 1,330 Naira per dollar. Well, as we step into the month of May 2024, what should we expect of the value of Naira? Not to worry, I've got a special guest, I must say, who will share with us solid perspective as to what to expect in the month of May 2024. On that note, I'd like to welcome you to MarketSquare. My name is Oluwapelubi Awe, and as always, I'm glad to have you along on the show. For starters, the federal government of Nigeria has disclosed plans to partner with more state governments in addressing power shortfalls across the country. Mr. Kasim Shettima, who is the Vice President of Nigeria, stated this at the Power Sector Stakeholders Interactive Dialogue Workshop organized by the House Committee on Power held recently. The new structure in the power sector is set to prioritize the creation of an enabling environment in the state, as well as at wholesale market levels, while paving ways for the private sector to lead across the value chain. The governors of the 36 states of the Federation have agreed to work together to tackle the epileptic power supply in the country. This is such a good news and a good thing to hear. And as part of measures to improve the quality of power delivery in the country, the governors have agreed to take steps to break the monopoly of the discos and power distribution across the state. What has been said repeatedly over the last couple of years is the monopoly in power distribution in Nigeria at the moment. And to see governors come together this way to try to break this monopoly and try to come together to make things work is so delightful to see. In June 2023, the government of Nigeria adopted the Electricity Act 2023, which repeals the Electricity and Power Sector Reform Act of 2005. The act introduces a range of key features, including the following. So the act that was introduced, that was signed some years back, has introduced certain things that I think many Nigerians are happy about. And first of which is the liberalization of Nigeria's electricity generation, transmission, and distribution at the national level, which then empowers states, companies, and individuals to generate, to distribute, to transmit electricity themselves. The act also allows states to issue licenses to private investors who may operate mini grids and power plants within their territory. The act, which is signed, also permits private investors to obtain generation licensing, transmission licenses, system operation licenses, trade licenses, distribution and supply licenses, including the prioritization of the development and utilization of renewable energy. The act signed in 2023 was passed by the National Assembly and was signed by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in a bid to overhaul the structure of the present electricity supply industry. But a keen look at this act signed will tell you that it is structured in such a way that it would promote a more contribution, more competition, and provide greater scope for tailoring power solutions to local needs while transitioning to a market structure that would attract much needed investment and promote environmental sustainability. What is right to say, what is right to know is that there is no country in this world that can strive without constant electricity. And what we are seeing so far so good, or what we have heard so far so good, as touching the governors coming together to see how they can make things work in their individual states, in that the act signed now permits states to generate their own power, is something of great remark, or something worth celebrating big time. The government needs to double down on ensuring an orderly transition to the new national electricity market framework. The Minister of Power, Mr. Debayo Adelabo, in his remark announced the plans to establish 3 megawatts of solar energy sources across the 25 states in the north and southwest parts of the country. It is best to believe that the projects are aimed at addressing the power supply woes in the country, as well as encouragement to state governments to invest in power generation in their state. It is common knowledge that the challenges of the power sector in Nigeria are many, but just to mention a few on the show today, you have inadequate generation capacity. According to Nigeria Electricity System Operators data in 2023, Nigeria's national grid could only cope with just a little over 4,000 megawatts. You also have that there is the supply constraint in our system here. There is the inadequate transmission infrastructure in our system. You also have regulatory and policy constraint, and also the inadequate financing and low investment due to lack of liquidity. Last year, for instance, on subsidy payment, it was observed that in the first quarter of 2023, the federal government of Nigeria subsidized power by 36 billion naira. This increased to over 100 billion naira in the second quarter and jumped to over 200 billion naira in the third quarter, which has brought about the Band A, Band G division of customers. And if you stay in any of the bands, I don't know what axis you stay, but I want to ask you, how has it been so far so good since the tariff was increased? I was in a friend's place last week, and she just told me, these are axes here. We pay a lot now, and it just came to me to say, which of the bands are you? This is Band A. We're in Band A. We're in Band A, and they pay quite a lot of money there to have power to do stuff every single time. Now, the challenges have resulted in energy deficits that have slowed down economic growth. And like I said already on the show today, that there is no economy in the world that can strive without consistent power supply. Power is a human need, actually. Power supply, electricity is a human need. Not just money, not just food, not just shelter. Electricity is a human need. And when there is the lack of sufficient power supply, industrialization will be hindered, and the quality of life of millions of Nigerians compared to their counterparts in other countries will surely diminish. According to the Minister of Power, the federal government has prepared some investment proposals for the establishment of 3 gigawatts solar energy sources across 25 states in the north, in the southwest, and the B to encourage state governments to, just plug into this system that ensures that the power distribution in Nigeria is better, and then break the monopoly in the power sector. The Minister of House of Representatives, Mr. Abbas Tajuddin, who was present in that meeting, disclosed plans to propose a law that would make it mandatory for the relevant federal government bodies to consult the National Assembly and other stakeholders before fixing the electricity tariffs. There was also the commitment by Mr. Tajuddin to sponsor a bill to provide alternative procedure that entrench proper consultation and legislative review of the process for tariff setting in Nigeria's electricity and other public services. Worthy of mention is the new minimum wage of 70,000 naira for civil servants in Edo State amidst ongoing negotiations between the labor union and the federal government over new minimum wage. This was announced by Governor Godwin Obaseki yesterday, to the delight of those on ground. Take a listen.
I believe that we cannot run away from the fact that we must adjust the minimum wage of workers in Nigeria. And so, for us in Edo State, we have decided that we will move minimum wage effective May 1 to 70,000 naira.
Now, before this, the TUC president, Mr. Festus Osifo, ruled out the possibility of having a new minimum wage in place before the end of May 2024. The Trade Union Congress of Nigeria frowned on the non-completion of a negotiation on a new minimum wage for Nigerian workers and has urged the federal government to fast-track the action. This is surprising, as my expectation, and I believe the expectation of many others watching this today, is that by May 1st, the president of Nigeria, as he reads his speech, will get to the point where he will announce that the minimum wage is now this. Yeah. The Trade Union Congress lamented that some states in the Niger Delta region that collect huge sums of money from the federal account, amongst others, are not willing to provide awards or willing to even provide palliatives for the workers in their state. Some states mentioned were Delta State, you have Delta State, you have Imo State, you even have Benue State on that list. On the 2nd of October 2023, the organized labor engaged the federal government of Nigeria, which culminated in the signing of the communique and was made public. And after the communique was signed, the organized labor empowered the respective state councils to follow up with their state government to ensure two things. The first on that list was to put in place palliative, and the second, but you know for sure that palliative is not a permanent solution to economic downturn. I've said it again and again and again on this show that palliative is not a permanent solution to economic downturn. Incentive is a better thing to offer than palliative, right? But a palliative could in many ways create immediate relief to the people. But a sustainable and robust solution that can meet the yearnings of the Nigerian workers and indeed the Nigerian masses is the raising of the minimum wage. There is no country in the world that would create a palliative distribution system that will last for more than 6 months, for more than 1 year. No country in the world like that. Because it's just to cater for a present need. And you can't keep doing palliatives every time, sharing Indomie and all. What you want to do is to put incentive in place. And what the Labour Congress have said again and again is that the federal government should try to increase the minimum wage. And funnily speaking, we have seen that we've seen reports of the Labour Congress saying that the minimum wage that they expect that the government should announce on the 1st of May 2024 is in the tone of 615,000 naira, right? And reading the news yesterday, a top economist, Mr. Paul Alaje, doing an interview, said that he doesn't expect that the minimum wage will exceed 200,000 naira. Given that minimum wage is always, most Nigerians try to equate minimum wage or look at the price of rice as a means of setting their minds towards what the minimum wage could be. So a way to get the people to be relaxed and not just give them immediate relief or temporary relief is to up the minimum wage. The organized labor, after collating reports, noticed that some states that are worthy of mention are starting efforts so far. You have Borno, you have Oyo, you have Lagos, you have Kaduna, you have Rivers State, you have Yobe, you have Bayelsa, you have Ebonyi, and the Federal Capital Territory. There are some states that have been said to do nothing despite receiving over 20 billion naira per month. And on that list, you have Benue, on that list, you have Anambra, on that list, you have Delta, on that list, you have Akwa Ibom, on that list, you have Kebbi, you even have Katsina. All of these states have been said to do nothing with respect to what was agreed on the 23rd, of October 2023. And one of the ways that one can improve the economy is when people have money to be to a comfortable level to purchase goods and to get services rendered to them, and also to transact at their preferred market in a bid to purchase items. But when there is no money to purchase items, or when the price of goods and services increase, while the people within that region have their incomes unchanged, the economy is bound to remain very, very unproductive. The organized labor have then even demanded that the Committee on Minimum Wage should hasten its activities so that a new minimum wage will be put in place as soon as possible, because a new minimum wage announced is said to be one of the strongest ways that the economy will be reinflated. So as we look forward to the announcement, as we look forward to the speech reading of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu tomorrow, the 1st of May 2024, we hope that the president will announce a new minimum wage to the delight of many, many Nigerians. Moving on from there, the month of April in 2024 stands as a month that most Nigerians who trade currencies won't forget for a long time. The value of Naira appreciated to around 1,000 Naira. That was miraculous. The value of Naira appreciated to 1,000 Naira per dollar sometime in the month of April. And that showed us in many ways that the effort by the Central Bank of Nigeria to empower or to boost the value of Naira started to yield expected fruit. For me, that was quite a miracle, I would say. That would have been, that was a miracle for me, in that we were on this same show in March, we announced how that $1 for Naira exchanged for as much as 1.7. In fact, it was even almost reaching 2,000 Naira. But in the month of April, we saw at some point, for the major part of April though, that Naira's value increased with respect to dollar. But in fact, Naira was even declared as the best performing currency in April at some point, to tell you how much of value Naira got, how much of value the Nigerian Naira was said to have at some point in the month of April. But I noticed, and many economists also noticed, that from the 22nd of April 2024, the value of Naira started to deepen. There was a bit of a downward trend in the value of Naira. Precisely last Thursday, $1 appreciated. Naira depreciated to something around 1,309 Naira per dollar. And that was in the official market. Now, in the parallel market, $1 exchanged for 1,420 Naira. Now, that's a lot compared to the progress observed so far, so good. Now, at that rate, it indicated the depreciation of around 90 Naira, or would say 6.8%, from the 1,330 quoted by the currency traders the previous day. It was noticed that there was huge dollar demand. There was huge dollar demand around the time. And they can tell, given that students started to resume, schools started to resume. I mean, there's a school in Abuja that, I don't want to call the name, but there's a school in Abuja that requests for the school fees to be paid in dollars. I won't mention the name. I will not mention the name. But there are schools like that everywhere, requesting that the school fees be paid in dollars. So we can almost say that it's a cause and effect thing, that the resumption of schools around last week was what propelled the pressure in the demand for dollar. According to currency traders in Nigeria, some said they bought dollars at 1,340 Naira and sold it at 1,420 Naira, leaving a profit margin of around 80 Naira. But over the weekend, the Naira demonstrated signs of strength again against the United States dollar, appreciating by 125 Naira to reach 1,275 Naira per dollar. And the new rate represents a 9.8% increase when compared to 1,400 Naira to a dollar. It traded at the close of trading activities on Friday. So I have a guest on the show today that has been here before. He's a top voice when it comes to matters like this. He is the president of the Association of Build the Change Operators in Nigeria, and he's on the show today to give perspective as to what is happening. Why did we have the appreciation of Naira at some point in the month of April, and why then did Naira's value begin to started to decrease sometime last week? And most importantly, what we should expect in the month of April, as we step into the month of May 2024. Welcome, Alhaji Aminu Gwandabi. Glad to have you on the show again today. So welcome Alhaji Aminu Gwandabi again for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. Good morning and afternoon, and thank you for having me.
All right.
And good afternoon, Nigerians.
Yes, we saw the Naira jump in its value surprisingly early this month to the extent that Naira was tagged as the best performing currency in April. But what was observed last week around Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was that the value depreciated to an extent. I want to ask you why the sudden downward trend? Because checking the figures today, I realized that the value has appreciated again today. So what is the reason for, or what was the reason for the sudden downward trend experienced last week?
Thank you very much. The new turn of events is worrisome and unfortunate. The Naira lost its appreciation momentum. As the CBN and the government try to block this part or this hole, before you know it, another one will sprang up. We have observed from market intelligence behaviors, some we call it rational and some we call it illegal economic behavior. First, it started, like you said, from Monday last week. We've seen how people are doing what is called conversion, buying from the open market when we have achieved appreciation to as low as 980 to $1. So people took opportunities. By then, the INE window is about 1,200. I know it's willing buyer, willing seller. So, like I said, people will call it rational behavior. Some will call it economic misbehavior. So we have seen people buying assets from the open market and taking it to the NAFEM window to make margins, to make profit. That put pressure on the Naira. And also, if we don't forget, there are a lot of news on the activities of crypto platforms, payment platforms, where the CBN and the FCC also, they are all working to see how they can tame that sector. Because as long as cryptocurrency remain profitable, the Naira must continue to depreciate. So that is the relationship. It's an inverse relationship. That put a lot of pressure also on the appreciating Naira, and then the oscillation that happened, which is unfortunate. Also, we are dealing with human behavior. There is always speculation. The speculators are bent in attacking the Naira. Some of them have lost money. So indirectly, invisible forces as they are not resting their oars in saying that they have minimized their losses by way of creating scarcity, by way of ensuring that their losses is minimized. So those are some of the factors we have seen that unfortunately help to overturn the fortune of the Naira and the outlook of the Naira.
Oh, okay. Now, in your most recent publication on Punch, you spoke about the intention of your association to set up a united retail and forex market that will help in the provision of market intelligence reports, enhance the local and global image of the Bureau de Change operators in Nigeria, other stakeholders, and even market operators, and which will, by extension, boost employment generation. So I want to ask you, how will this impact on the value of Naira? Because people listening to this right now, what they would want to hear is how this setup of yours would affect the value of Naira going forward.
As usual, we are licensed to formalize the informal sector. We are licensed to see convergence between the official and the open market exchange rate. We are licensed to ensure liquidity in the retail end of the market, also to generate employment, to also achieve price discovery. So these are some of the objectives of licensing the Bureau de Change. And two, you see, we found out what is called global system, global standard, and norms and culture of other societies. And most times these templates put on our neck without our inputs, without our recommendations and contributions. So now we are facing balancing of international obligations and national objective. We have our norms. This market has been developed during trans-Sahara trade in 1800. So we need to really come and see how do we collaborate and also compete. Is allowed. We can collaborate and compete with them. One, it will give us data repository of all the participants in the market. It will give visibility. It will enable compliance and supervision. And also, two, we will now also deepen that market because it's not a market that we can throw with the baby and the bathwater. It's a market that has been developed, like I said, even before the independence of Nigeria. So it's part of reforms. We, on our own, as a proactive organization, we first come up with structures and innovations. The structure is to create state chapters where we have major participants, and we inaugurated our chairman to ensure coordination, to ensure orientation, to ensure advocacy. And two, the draft guideline of the central bank is a reform, is to transform the retail end of the market. So we don't want to be cut off. So we need to come together as a broom so as to ensure the collaboration with the regulatory authority is a win-win situation. We have also upgraded our automation, online reporting automation, which will capture sources of their purchases, which will capture utilization of their purchases, which will also enable you to prepare your report, your rendition to the central bank and the NFIU. So it's a holistic approach.
Yeah, this is such a good idea, Elijah. This is such a powerful idea. And looking at things, I must commend the CBN for choosing to work with your association to make this a possibility. Because in previous times, the Bureau de Changes and the CBN used to be at loggerhead as to who should do what. But I think the relationship that presently exists is quite commendable. Now, the last question I have for you is this. As we step into the month of May 2024, Nigerians are curious to know what should they expect? What would the value of Naira be? And just to douse the tension, should we expect Naira to keep depreciating, or should we expect a bit of appreciation going forward?
To join what you have said in terms of recommending the management of the Apex Bank, we are grateful. It's the first time we have seen a liberalized interface. Not long ago, like I've said, there is a draft guideline. Ab initio, when central bank want to bring policies, we are not even asked or involved to bring our input. So, however, this is the first time that central bank is giving a draft guideline to ensure that stakeholders carry on, and then also engagement, liberalize, open door policy. Then to address your question of the month of May, I'm not going to set a target because I'm not the central bank, I'm not the presidency. But looking at the market dynamics, one can say going forward, the outlook look better, look brighter, because around May, June, there is this anticipation of increased foreign inflows even through our oil proceeds, and most of the engagement, most of the agreements enter with financial institutions. We also continue to galvanize to at least help in injecting dollar liquidity. Also, remember the central bank is harnessing the diaspora remittances, which is mostly externalized. Almost 90% of it don't come into the economy. They are putting a lot of structures there to see that it's a hanging fruit. Is huge, is big, and is cheap. So this is also a hanging fruit that will be harnessed and also inject liquidity. So the combination of these several factors, we have also seen where the treasury bills have been oversubscribed by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So, and then the central bank should also de-risk the export non-oil export product, so that we can have a paradigm shift in our sources of foreign exchange to build our buffers and have the arsenal to defend the local currency.
Okay, so we should be optimistic of appreciation in value of Naira going forward as we step into the month of May.
The exchange rate of every country is oxygen. So I urge every Nigerian to be optimistic, because being timid, we only was in the situation, and we have the capacity, we have the potentials to harness. It's only for us to be sincere and also to be patriotic and ensure that we have helped the country. It's not for the Bureau de change, it's not for the Central Bank of Nigeria, it's not for the presidency, it's for all the citizens of Nigeria to make our once Naira proud and effective in global economy.
Yes, of course. Thank you always, Alhaji Aminu Gwandabi, for coming on the show today.
It's my pleasure.
All right, sir.
Yeah.
We've come to the end of the show today. I hope you enjoyed the show from start to finish. Thank you for joining. I'm always glad to have you with me on the show. Do have to follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and even on Instagram. My name is Oluwapelumiawe, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.